I did not see any difference working with her with the label of DID. I did not see any difference in working through that process with her than I do any other person with PTSD. There were a few times in the very beginning, because she was so fragmented, that her life force, her astral body in, this day and time was minimal. So her fragments had a lot of the power. And in the very beginning, I had to work through the fragment rather than the grown up. Right. And, but that was only for a second. Right. I think I did 2 jumps where I had to do that. And then she had enough astral body and power to be in charge. Right. So that's
Oh, good.
I noticed. Right.
That's how it works. Okay. So you take her from the present, you go into the past, you go into the time loop, you recuperate and unify, and you can maybe what will happen is that the fragments will magnetize and come together, right? In the
why we have the unity vortex.
In the unity vortex. That's right.
That's what that is.
I got you.
That's what
So
that does.
We invite the fragments into the unity vortex. We ask them if they want to come with us, right?
Experience that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's
an invitation.
It's important that you experience that so that you can understand truly what's happening. Yeah.
Well, I totally get it right now in this moment. I totally get it. I'm thrilled.
Awesome. Yeah. And we don't jump all the time, right? Because, a time loop, it's not like, you have a time loop every day, right? We have a time loop around these moments that a child hit the wall. Like they hit the wall. They were like, I don't know how to function within this environment at all without this drastic action. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, if we view time like a trajectory, right? I like to use the idea of a tree because, as a tree is growing in breadth above, underneath its roots are growing equally equally in expansion, right? So its root system has to be as broad, if not broader, than the leaf and branch system for it to stay on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why the tree fell on my house, Cherie.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
here's what ends up happening with a person who has had tons of trauma, right? That tree ends up growing sideways, right? With life trying to reach up, and then it breaks.
Yeah.
And then it starts like from a little branch tries again to reach to the top, and then it breaks, right?
Yeah.
Because our system is more like a bush, right?
You think it's more like a bush?
More like a bush. Like we don't have that trajectory taproot like a tree, right? Like this tree. We don't have that. We're more going, fragmented out like that, right? So time is more tentative. Nothing is solid. Nothing is real. You have no trajectory of choice, right? So people with PTSD are really not trustworthy or dependable, right? Because depending on which fragment is in charge at that moment, like those choices are going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one thing we really work to do, is create that trajectory that is reaching up rather than sideways. That's why people feel like they're never getting anywhere, because they're running sideways,
Oh, yeah. there, we're not talking about the parallel universe here.
Not yet. We'll be
Okay.
talking about that in a minute. I'm talking just like as far as like choice making, like trajectory of growth is mostly going this way with like that, those branches trying to reach up. That's why a person with PTSD, they build life and it crashes. They build life and it crashes. There's no foundational system to hold it up.
Yeah.
And those tendril timelines don't have any strength, right? So if we do get on a tendril and we make 3 or 4 choices, it's liable to collapse off, right? So it's like, you know, oh, something's working, and then it's not. Something's working, then it's not. That's what that's about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayurveda claims that our chakras develop in 7-year increments. Now, we also know right now that NASA is comparing our DNA to the chakra system. So again, right, every physical thing we have in our body, there's an energetic duplicate, and we're very immature when it comes to our energetic systems, right? We're very immature in our knowledge and our wisdom around them, and their importance, right? So in these beginning, you know, we live within 5 major systems. We live mentally, behaviorally, energetically. Where am I? We live, let me say it again. We live behaviorally, energetically, physically, spiritually, and mentally.
Yeah. The 5 layers. Yeah.
Right? And within that, these beginning, when we're working in these loops, we're really working hard within these 3, right? We're working in the physical and the energetics and behaviors in this space, right? Now, as we bring it forward, right, then we're working in those energetic, or in the behaviors and their word choices, and you know, that trajectory to building that. But that's like, we have to get the foundation solid first. Now, Ayurveda says that, you know, those chakras develop in 7-year increments. Most of our work in C-PTSD is done, you know, from the solar plex down.
Okay.
Right? And, you know, we're starting from the root up, right? So that root chakra is fully developed at 7, right? So that means our default programming is in place by the age of 7. So that's horrible.
Yeah, and of course, sexual abuse affects that root chakra and distorts it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what comes with sexual abuse, like, it's less about the action and it's about the everything that happens around it. Right? I just did a video, I think I posted, like, I've been posting about that, because, you know, the event, there's a beginning and an end, right? And the family members and the watchers, what they do with it for the next 40 or 50 years is what is the problem. And often the extended family members end up taking over the title of abuse and the role of accomplice. Right? And
there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. It's unbelievable.
And that ends up being like the journey. Like, I've got a young woman, like, we've got her at truce with dad. She's at truce, like, she's at peace with him, right? But it just came, we just found the information that she had told her mom when she was 7.
Yeah.
And her mom stayed, right? And she's having to reconcile, you know, that level of betrayal, right, with someone that you claim to love and have a relation loves you, right? So yeah, there's a lot there for sure.
Well, what it is it contaminates love, right? Because then it's your attachment injury. And it has a profound effect on your life,
It does,
right? Because it's all about trust.
right?
Love.
There's no trust.
There's no trust. Yeah.
And love doesn't mean anything to these people, those words, right? Because love has been completely contaminated. If somebody were to walk up to me 20 years ago and tell me they love me, I would have said, please don't.
Yeah.
And I would have ran, right? Because they, in their world, love hurts, right? Love is sacrifice. Love is hard work. Most of all, love hurts a lot.
Yeah, I know. In my lineage, it's love is martyrdom. It's like a slavery to cleaning and cooking and just endless busy work, right?
So I like to, I don't use that word a lot with my people outside of telling them I love them when I shut out, right? Because I really want them to reach goals that are truly attainable, that they can measure, and then love comes, right? Without us trying to without that trying to be the goal, because like the societal ideas of what that is are very wonky. And especially for women, they want somebody to swoop in and take care of them and be their knight in
Yeah.
shining armor, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so I try to stay away from those words, right?
What was the word that I said? What was the word that alarmed you that I said?
Love.
You try to stay away from the word love
Yeah.
because it's so contaminated.
For them, until we get them better.
Yeah.
And we reprogram it. I spend a lot of time reprogramming that word. Spend a lot of time reprogramming that word.
Mm-hmm.
Words like relationship, love, family, right? Those are hard words for these folks, right? Like one guy was working with me with my stomach, and he was like, I think I want to reform your relationship with food. And I got up and left.
Yeah.
I got up and left, right? So we have to recognize, and when we're working with people, being very sensitive to how they're receiving our words. Because truly being a healer is being able to present information and present concepts and action in a way that the person sitting across from you can understand. And these people are done with concepts. They're done with them. Like, it hasn't gotten them anywhere. And some people, it's been 50 years of concepts, right? So
in traditional psychotherapy and psychology
they're
and
wanting some
psychiatry.
action. They're wanting to be able to look at things in a way that makes sense, because those concepts don't make sense, right? When you come from like where I came from, like, don't talk to me about that, right? That has not changed life, right? What can change it? Integrity can change it. There has to be a trajectory, an integrity, a core within a person for them to start growing up, right? And
Like
these
a tree.
fragments have to grow up.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah, the fragments are like the trunk, right?
The fragments, well, I would say that your astral body and your physical body coming together as one is that trunk.
Okay. And what makes the branches and the leaves then and the roots? Like
I don't understand that question.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to imagine, being a tree, and I think it would be good if we did an imagery or a symbol where the human being is like a tree, and that is definitely resonating with me.
Yeah,
I'm
I've
gonna
got
read,
that imagery everywhere. Did you see the picture here, right here,
yeah,
of the tree that had to grow sideways for a while and then grow up?
yeah,
So, you know, we have to think, we've got this amazing little magician. He's in this horrible circumstance. He decided that he has to get out. He has to run away. He has to get out, right? The only way that he can get out is to leave his body,
yes,
because he does not have control over his body. So that little magician, he's right, created this amazing, masterful action of creating an out-of-body experience, right? So he's looking down on this moment of time. He can see his body. I can remember like having these experiences, right? Where I was watching my body get beaten. So I'm down, I'm looking at this body, and I'm like, why do I want to go back there? Like, how can I go back? Right? So again, that force strong enough, right? We can fold that piece of time in upon itself and separate it very much like a cyst on your body away from the rest of you, so
yeah,
that you can live your life like a child, sort of.
yeah, yeah,
Right? So within this loop is the infection of the moment, the infectious emotions, right? The fragment of this little magician, right? And also he's trapped there with a fragment of his abuser. So he's trapped in Groundhog Day, living the same horrible moment over and over and over again. And he's not alone. So we have to recognize that, yeah?
sorry, my battery's almost dead. It just told me.
So kind of like a cyst in the physical body, right? This, you know, a cyst is a sac-like pocket of tissue that contains, right, infection. It contains cells that are going to cause damage to the whole, and so it localizes it, right? So this quantum action here is being able to bend time, right? This little dude is magic enough to be able to bend time. Now, they've been talking about being able to bend time since Einstein. Our government knows it's possible. People are studying bending time all over the world, right? And we think about it like it's an idea. It's an action as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I just thought about what we're gonna do as a strategy. I don't know if you want to talk about it right now or you want to wait
Yeah,
until.
probably not right now, right? Because I want to get through this with you. But we
Okay.
can talk about it. Yeah. So, according to the Einstein's theory of relativity, right? That allows for the possibility of warping time to such a high degree that it folds in upon itself. That is a masterful action. We have to understand that if people are tangled up in PTSD, they are brilliant. They are in the levels of mastery for all these psychic abilities, quantum abilities, and they're like Harry Potter, who is under the closet, in the broom closet, not knowing he's doing it. Yeah. So these actions are masterful and they're brilliant, and there are consequences, right? And the consequence of these loops is amnesia. The loss of memory, right, leaves a person vulnerable to continue the cycles. Does that make sense?
I think you need to say it again.
The information and the skills around creating these time loops, right, are brilliant, and they're skills of mastery, and
Right.
the consequence is amnesia,
Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay. I got you.
which means that with amnesia comes this the trajectory of the cycle continuing.
So what you're saying is that that's where pedophiles come from.
That's where abuse is transferred,
Yeah.
right?
Transferred in the sense of the behavior.
I wouldn't specify it to pedophiles, but I am saying if you don't have the information that was in those loops, you don't have the information to stop the action next time.
So by going back and unifying your fragments, that's how we get sexual abuse to stop.
This is for all abuse. It's not specific to sexual.
All abuse. Okay.
This is abuse, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
PTSD. There's some people that have sexual abuse that don't have PTSD.
Yeah.
So this is very specific to PTSD.
Yeah.
PTSD, C-PTSD, and karma, those cycles are what this is focused on.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
Karma, PTSD, C-PTSD, it's all the same. It's cycles, right? And we have those continuation of those cycles often because we don't have the information we need to stop it, right? That's why often at pregnancy, floods of information come in, right? Because we need it. We need it to keep our child safe, right? We need that information to move forward and be adults.
Yeah.
You know, and make connection. Right?
Yeah.
Because amnesia makes you feel like you don't know anyone. Right. So my whole family, like they'd act like they were my family, and I'd be like, I don't even know you. Like, I don't feel like I even know you. I recognize your face.
Yeah.
Right. And how are you ever going to get out of these cycles if you don't have the information to speak it?
Yeah.
Right. So again, back to all these years of these doctors asking me, right? There are two reasons, two very important reasons why we don't tell. One is the time loops, and one is that a child doesn't have any words.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So I want to go back to my daughter in the sexual abuse. She was 3 years old, right? I caught a lot of flack by talking to my kids about that. From society, from family, from everyone. But I tell you what, right? That saved her that day. She would have been kidnapped. When
Yeah, she would have
had
been
the
kidnapped.
information, she had the words to say it out loud, and it was over for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, I did a video in response to that very video that you did, right?
Mhm.
And I was teaching how I had taught my little girl who was 18 months old or 20 months old how to practice assertiveness because of her beauty
Yeah,
and
I remember
her
that.
red curly hair.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you know, and just to put her little hand up and say, please don't touch my hair. And I told you that the woman almost dropped to her knees in the store, right? And that's exactly how we're going to stop childhood sexual abuse, is by having these conversations And
Well, often the biggest piece about you know, I don't know if you saw the one I posted today, but like truly the perpetuation of abuse is not the abuser. It's
no,
the family.
it's the silence in the family. That's right.
No,
Yeah.
it's the family, right? And you know, my dad died last year. And, you know, I was probably out of all the people in the situation have more honor for him than anyone. Because the man went to his grave having owned every ounce of everything. Now, who took up the battle or took up his fight was my extended family, right? You know, he stopped hurting me at 17, right? He left me alone. Like he didn't cause me one more ounce of harm, right? Past 17, 18 years old, right? All the abuse was caused by everyone else,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It what it does is it deepens the abuse and the trauma and the PTSD
Well,
because
it
of this.
undermines it and your level of betrayal, right? Because what's real and true is like in the end, the level of betrayal doesn't lie with him.
Yeah.
It lies with my mother.
Yeah. And hence Ellie's rage against her mother and her
And,
elder
you know,
abuse.
like, you know, it's very difficult, like for my children to understand that, right? That I actually have more love for my dad than my mother, right? You know, and my brothers, like
You
they
know, that
right? Like
that's
they all like have said, you know, and that word forgiveness, I don't know how many times that shows up. And it's like, you know, I forgave dad a long time ago. I forgave my abusers, right? They've not bothered me since I was a kid. And all of them have taken ownership of it.
oh really?
Oh yeah. I pushed. Yeah, they all did, right? And you know, the people that didn't, right, are these people
But did they stop doing it once they took ownership?
with me.
No, I mean they stopped with you, but do you know that they stopped with other people?
I've done everything I could. So
Yeah,
I don't know where the penis goes.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
do know that their wives know. I've written 3 books about it. So if they don't, you know, then that's their responsibility at this point.
yeah,
Again, the accomplices, right? You know, who is really guilty if he is harming other people? Because my uncle, I actually mailed my book to my aunt, right, with a letter and the pages turned. And I told her, I said, you have granddaughters, so be careful. She stayed with him.
yeah. She stayed with him and just let the cycle perpetuate, no doubt.
So who knows? I don't know, right? But I do know that all of my abusers have dementia,
Oh, okay.
right? And I do
That's
believe that,
interesting.
yeah, I do believe that, you know, that is that denial, right? And
Oh, this is fantastic. This is another theory, another scientific theory.
well, I'm not
You're
saying everybody does, but I did hold their feet to the fire for sure.
you're you're brilliant, Cherie. You're so brilliant.
Thank you, honey. You know, I mean, my dad and my uncle both got dementia.
Yeah. My mother's getting dementia and she denied mine and my sister's sexual abuse of by our aunt.
That's another piece. We have to really recognize that this is not a male problem, right?
Yeah.
And that's something I'm trying to be very clear about when I speak, because it is not just a male problem. And I
No, it's not.
really do really believe that women hold as much responsibility, because, you know, here's the thing. if a woman's man is having an affair in another country, in another state, if he is having sex with another woman, his wife's gonna know, right? She is gonna suspect, she's gonna start asking questions. So you think if that man is dumping his seed in his daughter's bedroom that she doesn't know? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I have researched that for years now. Like, I don't believe it, right? I have too many women that come in here, right, with their men having affairs and like them having these intuitive hits and questions and, you know, turning over every stone, right? But what's real and true is in these homes, these women feel grateful that the man is in the child's bedroom. I've had women say that.
Oh my God.
Well, if he was in her room, he wasn't bothering me, right? Yes, I've had women say that. So we have to recognize that this triangle is not just the man.
I used to circle around my daughters, Cherie. I was terrified of my husband touching them.
Oh yeah, me too.
I was terrified of my husband touching them. I always had that fear.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
You know, because he sexually abused our son.
Oh.
Yeah, my son Simon was sexually abused by my husband. And my husband said he didn't mean to.
What does that mean? I didn't mean to?
Yeah,
he did not mean to.
Well, it's an interesting idea. Scenario that I'm going to present to you, that we used to have a family bed.
Well, so does my daughter, but like you don't accidentally sexually abuse someone.
He said that he did it in his sleep. That he woke up and he had his penis and he was masturbating on my son. And my son was so traumatized by this, and he was sexually abused by his teacher, my son Simon. And he started watching child pornography at the age of 16 or 17. And he was so ashamed, Cherie. He was so ashamed of it. He could have killed himself.
I know.
And all of this until this very moment has been kept a secret.
So, honey,
by me.
You don't ask.
By me.
I know.
I have kept it a secret by me.
I hear you.
And you know what? I'm no longer going to keep it a secret. I'm going to be speaking in public about it.
I'd be careful using names because your son hasn't released that information. Right? I would talk in, right? Because like if my mom would have spoke about my abuse, that could have shattered me. So be careful.
Well,
let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about after.
Yeah. So I'm good here.